Good morning and welcome to West Shore Unitarian Universalist Church. My name's Diane Alcorn and I am the Membership and Engagement Coordinator here. If this is your first time visiting with us, welcome. We're glad you took the time to join us here. If you'd like more information about our church and our worship community, please feel free and send me an email. In the meantime, again, welcome. We're so glad you took the time to join us.
Welcome to West Shore Unitarian Universalist Church, a spiritual community whose hope is audacious and whose vision is for a more equitable and just world for all. I'm Reverend Anthony McCarr, Senior Minister of this wonderful community, and joining me this morning are Dave Blazer, Music Director, Carrie McIntyre, Guest Musician, Megan Ross, Director of Religious Education and Engagement, Melinda McGuckin, Worship Associate, Christine Solante, Larry Wise, and Michael Hockman, who are our wonderful tech folks making this live stream possible. Together, we are pleased to invite you into this space which is connecting people from all over Cleveland and beyond to our welcoming community. Often the world is not so welcoming. Often the values of the world are neither loving nor just. So, may this worship hour be one where our souls are fed by a wisdom and a passion that remind us that life does not have to be that way, that there exists a larger love in every human heart, urging us on to what is better. In this holiday season and in this third day of Hanukkah, let this larger love move in our midst, and may we be changed by it. A special welcome to you this morning if you are a newcomer to our community, gay or straight, cisgender or transgender, black or brown or white. You are welcome. Our West Shore regulars would love to greet you, and will do so if you indicate in the Facebook chat that you are new or relatively new. If you happen to have any questions and would like to chat with a live person, West Shore's Programs Assistant Dorothy Richards would love to reach out. Dorothy's address is being added to your Facebook chat as we speak. We have a couple of announcements from Megan for you this morning.
Good morning. So I just have one announcement for you today. Next Sunday, December 20th at 4:30, right here on the church property, we will have a small winter solstice celebration. Please remember to bring a bird-friendly ornament to hang on our tree and join us for a solstice story and candlelight. Masks will be required and we will be practicing social distancing. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. I have a couple of announcements myself. First, thanks to everyone who contributed to the service auction. I know that I have already shared the total revenue with you last week, but it begs repeating. This year's fundraiser was one of West Shore's most profitable events, generating $35,000 in revenue. You were the key to its great success. Your support to West Shore has made a significant impact on the growth of this beloved community. Just a reminder, today and tomorrow will be the last opportunity for you to take advantage of some of the unsold items. Simply go to our website. The items will be available until Monday at 5 p.m. And finally, I want to be sure that you know about our lovely Christmas Eve services coming up. Christmas Eve at 4 p.m. will be our very special family-friendly service in which we will celebrate such annual traditions as the junior choir singing "Oh, How I Love Christmas Eve," a holiday story for all ages, Christmas carols, beautiful candlelight. To participate in this Zoom-based service, it is a Zoom-based service, registration is needed. A packet of materials will be sent to you, and we want everyone to participate, and so everyone who will be a part of that service needs to get this packet of material. So please register, and we'll need you to do that by December 22nd. And then at 9 o'clock that very same night is our service of lessons and carols, sacred readings and poetry, stories and candlelight, along with traditional carols and songs that will evoke the spirit of love embedded in the traditional Christmas story. This service will be available via live stream like this service. Please be sure to have candles at your side so that you can join with us in the beautiful ritual of candlelighting. Once again, welcome to this new day. You know, every week we light our chalice, symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. It is a beautiful reminder that no matter how many jarring events may have happened over the course of the week, the gathered community that is West Shore Unitarian Universalist Church is a source of stability and meaning, and we can depend on it. In that spirit, we now say our chalice lighting words which come to us from a great soul, Maya Angelou. This is our chalice. In many separate rooms, we light one flame, flame of passion, flame of compassion, flame of humor, flame of style. We do not accept merely surviving. Let our mission be to thrive. Together in spirit, we are one. And let us now testify to the unity of our spirit by saying together our unison affirmation words. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia y el servicio su ley. Esta es nuestro magnífico convenio. Vivir juntos en paz, buscar la verdad en el amor y ayudarnos los unos a los otros. And so may it be. And now we turn to our time of greeting. This is the third day of the 8-day festival of Hanukkah, which is one of the most widely observed Jewish holidays. The word Hanukkah means dedication in Hebrew and commemorates the victory of a small group of Jewish rebels over the might of the armies of Syria in 165 before the Common Era, and the subsequent liberation and rededication of the temple in Jerusalem. Today, Hanukkah has become the festival of lights, a holiday that brings light, joy, and warmth to our homes and our communities as we celebrate with candles and food and family and friends. Light comes literally with the lighting of an additional menorah candle each day, and metaphorically through a newer emphasis on charitable donations and a commitment to what is called tikkun olam, the healing of the world, during the holiday. The ancient story goes that the small group of Jewish rebels, after facing and defeating the overwhelming might of the armies of Syria, wanted to mark their victory by lighting the temple menorah, but they only found enough pure olive oil for one day. That one day's supply ended up lasting 8 days and is considered a miracle in Jewish faith. Today and tomorrow and forever, we need this same miracle of the kindling of light in you and in me, all of us. Our light kindled, no matter how overwhelming the shadows we face, the injustice, the hurt. Let this greeting time help to kindle our flames within. And now we turn to a moment of sharing names and news that people have asked to be shared. Among the West Shore family, we have some birthdays to lift up. Anthony's birthday is tomorrow. Arena's birthday is Tuesday. Happy birthday to these children of our West Shore community. And I should add that there is another very special birthday that we want to be celebrating today. It is the 35th anniversary of the founding of our child care center. It is our largest outreach program. It has blessed so many families over the years. It is 35 years old. So happy birthday to our child care center. We are grateful for you. Let each of us now say the names of people whom we are holding in our personal thoughts and prayers this morning. People in our West Shore community, perhaps people beyond. Wherever you happen to be, say into the space of your room these names out loud, and you may even type the names into our West Shore Facebook chat, if you like. I'll pause for a moment as we do this. This has been our greeting time when we are called out of the 24/7 world, the ordinary world, and called into a time of peace and nurturance. Also, a time of spiritual adventure and exploration. Today's service is part of our year-long worship series devoted to the great world religious traditions that nourish and inform Unitarian Universalism. And one of the rituals we've been living into around this time is what I want to call a signature sound. The signature sound of our spiritual adventure is the tune of Heiferdal, better known as the tune of Blue Boat Home. This is why we're hearing it so much more frequently this year, and will continue to do so through the rest of the World Religions worship series. But different hymns can use the same tune. So now we turn to our first hymn of the day, Light of Ages and of Nations. Light of ages and of nations, every race and every time,
spirits in rapt visions past the heavenly veil within, always heartfelt in contrition, found salvation from their sin. Reason's noble aspiration, truth in growing clearness saw. Conscience spoke its condemnation, or proclaimed eternal law. While thine inward revelations told thy saints their prayers heard, prophets to the guilty nations spoke thine everlasting word. Oh, that word abideth ever, revelation is not sealed, answering now to our endeavor, truth and light are still revealed. That which came to ancient sages, Hindu, Buddhist, Christian, Jew, written in the soul's deep pages, shines today forever new.
Hello, my name is Melinda McGuckin, and I'm a worship associate. I'm also a student at Meadville Lombard Theological School. I want to share my reflection with you today about Confucius and Confucianism. So back in about '89, I was in 6th grade, and at my Lutheran private school, we were studying world religions. One of those was Confucianism. At the time, I remember there wasn't a lot of cultural sensitivity about other countries at all, especially China and mainstream America. I mean, especially as an 11-year-old Pentecostal growing up in the Midwest, there just wasn't a lot of sensitivity. There wasn't a lot of knowledge about other cultures. I'd heard of Confucius, however, it was more in terms of wise-sounding silly tropes, such as Confucius say. I thought he was a philosopher from China, and that's about all I knew. What we learned in school was that Confucius taught about the virtues of family, and families being the basis of civilized society. We were introduced to the theme of respect your elders, and of course, that's something that our school loved to tell us. That was what I thought of Confucius, and pretty much all I knew until I read the reading for this Sunday. I learned a lot more, and it also re-emphasized what I already knew. What I understand now and can relate to in Confucius's teachings is the concept of structure for healthy family dynamic as being necessary for a healthy functioning society. In 2003, I was 24. I was working as a reviewer for scientific proposals at a local tech startup when I received a call from Child Protective Services. They informed me that due to recent criminal developments, that my younger half-siblings, ages 16, 12, and 8, would no longer be able to live with our dad or their mom, so either of their parents, and they were requesting me to be their emergency guardian. I dropped what I was doing. I headed to meet with the social workers. I signed the paperwork, agreed to take the kids. Social workers told me that I would need a team, and I couldn't do it alone. I had no idea what to do, except that I had to provide safety, love, and structure for these kids who couldn't be safe with either of their parents. We went out to dinner that first night. As I lay in bed, awake, tossing and turning that night, I knew that I had to develop my strategy, and I did. My team included my mom, her parents, the social workers, my psychologist, the kids' medical professionals, and their new teachers. We came together to provide the safety, stability, love, nurturing, and support that enabled 3 children to grow and thrive. They were with me for a year. In that time, I was unfortunately fired from my job due to all the time I had to take off of work to deal with their schools, court, medical appointments, and social workers. I found a new job that was part-time and flexible to accommodate my new responsibilities. I knew that we were making progress when their grades improved. They even told me how happy they were. They surged ahead in school, making breathtaking strides in learning. Fond memories include me teaching the 8-year-old how to meditate. He found me meditating one day and asked me what I was doing. I said, I'm meditating, it calms my mind. He said, hey, I want to learn. I said, okay. So we did a guided meditation. He was hooked. After that, the first thing he wanted to do when he came home from school, before a snack and before playing with his friends, he wanted to meditate. It was so cute. Then the eldest, the 16-year-old, and I would go running every evening. As the moon rose, we hit the streets to run 5K. I was so proud when his running stamina outpaced mine. Soon he was finishing before me. In the course of a year, the structure that they were given enabled them to flourish beyond what I had ever thought was possible. The youngest, who had been a grade behind when he came to live with me, was promoted 2 grades. So he was actually, at the end of the year, a grade ahead of his age grade. The middle child was in a different environment for her own safety. However, there was a solid structure there. She was able to skip a grade and also went to a program for gifted youth. The eldest graduated high school with honors, went on his first choice college. As a guardian, I was as proud as any parent. At the end of that year, their mother was deemed fit by the courts. She was able to resume custody. In my opinion, that was not a positive thing because she was still, in my opinion, unable to give them safety and structure. Nevertheless, she was their biological mother. I learned that Confucius is right. Without structure in the home, children are unable to bring their best to the world and become caught up in social problems. They fail in school, their behavior issues, etc. With structure and everything that entails, children thrive. They flourish in the family and go into the world as positive, secure people. The wisdom of ancient China is pertinent across time and cultures. Kids need to be safe, secure, loved, and to have a solid network of support around them to enable them to grow and develop as whole, happy people to give their best to the larger world.
Thank you, Melinda. Thank you. And now, Membership Chair Karen Kircher.
Good morning. I am so happy to introduce you to 4 new members to our church today. 3 of them have never even worshiped in our sanctuary. They're connected to our church already through the opportunities to come to coffee hour, to live stream with us, and to be a pen pal. Let me introduce you to them. Morgan O'Leary and her husband Sam live in Lakewood with their 2 cats and a dog. She joined West Shore on September 27th because she needed a spiritual home that is as open-minded and justice-oriented as she, and one that would support her Celtic pagan practice. Morgan would love to live in Ireland someday. I hope Sam feels the same. Jonathan Pratt lives in Avon Lake with his partner Robert and their 2 dogs. He is currently in school finishing a master's in school counseling. Jonathan joined West Shore on September 6th and is eager to get involved. Beverly Schmidtkin originally joined West Shore in 1973 and still has many friends here. She is married to Richard and has a blended family with 5 children and many grandchildren. Bev is a retired supervisor and adjunct professor who enjoys travel, writing, and photography. She participates in book discussions and spiritual growth groups. Bev rejoined us on November 10th, mainly because of Reverend McCarr's inspiring services. She is currently a member of a connection circle and is participating in the Pen Pal program. Carol Sweet grew up in Parma, attended Baldwin Wallace and Cleveland State, and is currently employed by Cleveland Cliffs. I was so delighted that Carol visited us online this summer and remembered me as her junior high history teacher. She is a fan of Cleveland sport teams, Playhouse Square, and our Great Lake. Carol lives with her rescue Sheltie, who shares her love for walking in the metro parks. She's been searching for a place where she can learn and contribute and chose West Shore on September 27th because our mission resonated with her. Carol can't wait for in-person coffee hour, singing in the choir, and meeting everyone as soon as is safely possible. She's a pen pal and a regular at our coffee hour. Please join me in welcoming our newest members. We welcome you into membership. Thank you for joining West Shore. Through your questions and your faith, we grow wiser. Through your energy and your gifts, our possibilities multiply. Together, our vision is widened and our strength is renewed.
Thank you so much, Karen. How wonderful to be welcoming our 4 new members. Wonderful, because 4 lives are being joined to the lives of the community here. And wonderful, because of what the membership opportunity means. Church membership is really a way to decide something for yourself, that you're going to prioritize your moral and spiritual development and growth. You're going to double down on that. If you're coming with a family, same thing. You're choosing moral and spiritual growth for them all. Church membership is also about opening yourself up to friendship and being supported as you go through the ups and downs of life. If you've got children, West Shore will support you in raising them. If you are growing closer to someone special, West Shore may end up celebrating your wedding. If a loved one dies, you better believe that West Shore will be by your side, grieving with you. And when that time may come for death to come to you, as it comes to all, West Shore will remember and celebrate you and love and support your family and friends through a challenging time. What I'm trying to say is this: church membership is not like membership at a gym. It is not like membership to NPR. It means something so much more than that. Church membership supports you throughout the entirety of your living and remembers and celebrates you in your dying. This is big stuff. Church membership is unlike anything else. And yet another thing it's about is rallying people to do good deeds, rallying people to express practical love. One recent example of this has to do with our Giving Tree program. Our West Shore volunteers included Marty Wiersma, Catherine Campbell-Gaston, Bob and Gloria Beamer, and Kathy Ross. They helped deliver 150 wrapped gifts for 50 children at our community partner, Denison United Church of Christ. We also delivered 100 holiday treat bags made by Kathy Ross. That's a lot of smiling faces and a lot of happy people. Thanks to the religious education and social action committees for their help, and to everyone who donated cash or gifts. Above all, thank you to the entire West Shore community for making it all possible to begin with. Without the financial support of our church members, there would be nothing to be a member of, and no community to rally us to good works. Thank you very much. And now, please consider texting a one-time gift to West Shore. Instructions for how to do that can be found on your screen. Thanks for considering a gift this morning. It's only because of your generosity that we can do what we do. This includes the beautiful music that we are going to hear right now, this Chinese flute music written and performed by our church member, Carrie McIntyre. let us now take this musical prayer and extend it into the prayer of our very own hearts and minds. Take a deep breath in and exhale it all the way out. Inhale and exhale all the way out. Wherever we may happen to be, whatever our circumstances, let the tension just drain away. Close your eyes if that feels good for you. And just hear my voice. Let this moment be a moment of peace and beauty and centeredness. Let it be a moment of togetherness. Together, our vision is widened and our strength is renewed. And also, together, our hearts are connected in peace. Let this be for us a moment spent together in the deep peace. And now, please consider this video.
This is a traditional-style wedding held inside the Confucius Academy in China's southwestern city of Guiyang. Following the rituals of the Han Dynasty, which ended 1800 years ago, the couple tie together strands of their hair, wash each other's hands, and take a sip of bitter wine. Finally, they kneel and bow their heads to a statue of Confucius.
我们每一个仪式的环节，我们都会向友人，还有来这里的亲朋好友，以及在这里的市民，我们都会告诉他每一个环节是做什么的。就是这一个礼它的寓意是什么？它也有一个就是传播的作用吧。希望大家都知道我们的传统婚礼，知道我们的传统文化。
This and other activities at the government-supported Confucius Academy are among the clearest illustrations of how China is trying to revive traditional culture, especially Confucianism, as a source of political legitimacy. Confucius emphasized respect for elders, social ritual, and personal moral virtue. His ideas dominated China for 2 millennia, but were attacked as backward and feudal when the Communist Party took power. Now the party is returning to many Confucian ideas, while clamping down on Western influence in academia, art, religion, and civil society. The academy was built by local developers at a cost of $185 million and opened in 2013. A 30-foot tall Confucius statue towers over visitors as they climb a long staircase leading to the entrance of the 75-acre complex. Now managed and funded by the local government, the academy also provides coming-of-age rituals for children, facilities for Confucian scholars to live and work, and free lectures on Confucian philosophy to the public.
里边呢，我们正在进行的就是叫公益性的文化讲座。中国是一个礼仪之邦，是特别强调道德治理、道德治人这么一个国家。那么这些年来，越来越重视对传统文化的弘扬。那么建立孔学堂就是这样一个目的。
Few Chinese people still believe in communism, and as the economy slows, the party can no longer rely on the promise of rapid wealth creation to keep it in power. China's leaders hope places like this will provide a new sense of cultural identity and a reason to reject Western political ideals, while encouraging Chinese officials to be less corrupt.
改革开放30多年了，那么我们的经济社会取得了很大的发展，但是在精神方面，或者说在道德方面，这么多年以来，各种各样的原因是有问题的，我们是有不少的问题。
Last year, local authorities opened a traditional culture training center for local officials, the first of its kind in China. Provincial and city bureaucrats have been attending regular training courses here ever since.
如果中国人站在世界上，除了他经济上好、科技上发达以外，精神上、道德上也要好，我们要成为一个真正的文明人。
December 13, 2020. Dear Confucius, more than 2,500 years has passed since the time you walked this earth. Since then, you have become known as one of history's greatest teachers. Billions of people have been put on the path of authentic personhood because of you, first in China and now the world. I am deeply, deeply honored to be writing this letter to you today. I do this as part of the larger conversation I am having with my congregation here in Cleveland called West Shore Unitarian Universalist Church. We are in process of exploring the treasures of the great world religious traditions, and I believe that you might be the one person we are studying who might best understand this. For you are not so much the author or originator of Chinese culture as its supreme editor. You too searched among the treasures of the ancients, and you took this, and you discarded that, and so on, as all editors do, so that old wisdom might serve present need and lead people into a better future. This is what Unitarian Universalism wants people to do also, to be spiritual editors in their own right of multiple sources of wisdom and truth. For a Unitarian Universalist, maybe the answer is WWCD, as in, what would Confucius do? But may I ask for something right at the start? At times during this letter, what will happen is that I will say a thing that is completely obvious to you, and I ask for your indulgence, since it will not be obvious to people today. For example, you had absolutely nothing to do with fortune cookies people get at Chinese restaurants. But when your name comes up, for a lot of folks, Their minds instantly go to the cookies that you crack open, revealing a slip of paper with some tepid Confucius say statement printed on them. Moving forward, I hope this letter changes what comes to mind when your name is mentioned. As I have said, we are exploring the spiritual treasures of the ancients, and as a congregation, we are still early in that journey. One astounding fact that our congregation has learned, at least I think it is astounding, is that all of today's great world religious traditions, including yours, emerged during a relatively short period of time, between 900 before the Common Era to 200 before the Common Era. Hinduism and Buddhism in India, Confucianism and Taoism in China, the philosophy of Socrates and Plato and Aristotle in Greece, the monotheism of Judaism in the Middle East. All of these emerged during a relatively short window of opportunity, and it was because society was maturing. Cities were expanding, militaries were building, individualism among the people was rising, and violence was spreading and growing. The violence of the time, the chaos of the time was extreme. Thus the goal of the new religions which emerged, to heal the violence and to help humanity survive its growing pains. Every one of them offered a version of the Golden Rule, and you stated your own version in this way: do not do unto others what you would not have them do unto you. Or more positively, if you want to establish yourself, establish others. It's just that the illusion of separation loomed large over humanity, and the great religions were born to replace that illusion with the reality of our interdependence. Dear Confucius, we are still earnestly in that fight to replace illusion with reality. We still are, here in Cleveland, Ohio, United States of America, in the ghastly year of 2020. But there is something else we've learned that I should mention. It's an idea that Hinduism, Buddhism, and your tradition of Confucianism, too, all share. The great Hindu saint Ramana Maharshi put it like this: wanting to reform the world without discovering one's true self is like trying to cover the entire world with leather to avoid the pain of walking on stones and thorns. It is much simpler to wear shoes. In other words, you, together with the great saints and sages of Hinduism and Buddhism, call people to a vision of liberation, a vision of liberation that involves working inwardly on oneself, rather than trying to conquer the entire world out there. And here's how you say just that, which we find in a book called The Analects, widely considered to be the most reliable source of your teachings. You say, exemplary persons make demands on themselves, while petty people make demands on others. Or this saying, when things go smooth, go and benefit the entire world. when not. The worst is that you can still perfect yourself. Ugh. I wish I could say I was never petty and always exemplary. On the other hand, one reason why I like you is that you never came off as full of yourself. You taught modesty, and you were modest, and you spoke of yourself as a fellow traveler on the path towards becoming fully, authentically human. And that's how I see myself too, with my fellow Unitarian Universalists. We are on the path towards actualizing our full humanity, and Confucius, right here is where your spiritual perspective takes a sharp turn away from what we find in Hinduism and Buddhism. Hindus and Buddhists agree that being human is merely a stage in one's spiritual development and is something to be transcended. And they are at one with this. The human condition for Hindus, for example, is that people are kings. They're like kings who, fallen victim to amnesia, wander their kingdom in tatters, not knowing who they really are. Humanity is something to wake up from. And there are 4 yogas, or disciplines, by which people can arrive at liberation, which is called moksha. Whichever yoga a person chooses will be the one best suited to their temperament. Religion needs to accommodate the diversity in humanity that simply cannot and need not be repressed or denied, that diversity. As for Buddhists, the human condition is suffering because people have human selves, which are essentially a nexus of fear patterns and greed patterns that are products of social conditioning. The fear patterns and the greed patterns have been done unto us. We grow up believing that these patterns are essentially who we are. That is how ignorance maintains our suffering and the suffering that we do unto others. But the Buddhist no-self doctrine is like light chasing away shadows. There is nothing permanent in the human self that each of us thinks we have. Life does not have to be this way. This human self can be disassembled through spiritual practices, and the ultimate achievement of the spiritual path is direct experience of no self, which is called nirvana, and by which we enter into a state of compassion, of compassionate spaciousness, endlessness of compassion. That's essentially what Hindus and Buddhists teach about the human condition, the cause of suffering, and the way to liberation. Confucius, you taught something very different. You taught that our spiritual focus should not be on transcending the human, but instead on becoming completely fulfilled in our humanity. Let's do that instead. Let's each of us learn how to become a fully authentic person, or what you called a chunzu. It's that saying of yours again. Exemplary persons make demands on themselves, while petty people make demands on others. The chunzu is the exemplary person, humanity at its best, whereas on the opposite end of the spectrum, you have people who are woefully undeveloped, people who are petty. And that is where the violence comes from. One Chinese expression puts it like this: that person is a beast with a human skin. Just having human skin, just looking human, is no guarantee that you are truly human. I wonder how my congregation is receiving this idea. Perhaps it may seem very strange to them, but this is what makes your spiritual perspective, Confucius, so fresh and interesting. Being truly and fully human is not just a given. It's just not a given for anyone. You have to work at it. It is an achievement that takes effort, and it can take a lifetime to accomplish. That is what your supreme teaching is all about. The word you use to talk about this is ren. Ren. No other concept of yours has more prominence in your philosophy. Ren means human-heartedness, or the seed of it, which needs to be nourished and cultivated so as to achieve full flourishment. You might be pleased to know that it very much resonates with Unitarianism's historic focus on what is called self-culture. And it definitely resonates with Universalism's historic teaching that no person does evil knowingly, that all people act so as to accomplish something positive based on their best feeling at the time for what positive means. Even people who have human skin but act like beasts. It's because their feeling for what is positive is beastly. The habits that they're caught in, their attitudes and ideas all need improvement, but no one is broken at the core of their humanity. All people have inherent worth and dignity. Your teaching and that of historic Unitarianism and Universalism, very resonant. They rhyme. But what might not rhyme, what is so very interesting about your approach, stands out when a person takes a close look at the Chinese ideogram for the word ren. Again, the word that means human-heartedness. The ideogram is made up of two elements, an image of a person and an image of the number 2, the number 2. The basic message being telegraphed is that personhood is essentially relational. People are not primarily atomistic, individualistic choosers, and only secondarily in relationship to other people. No, you teach the reverse of that. To be a person is first and foremost to be in a network of relationships. And you take away that network of relationships, and there is no person left behind. I'm not sure, Confucius, if you had a system of mail back in your day, but you will be gratified to note how deeply your teaching about personhood has sunk into the Chinese psyche, as illustrated by the way a Chinese person writes their mailing address. First is the country name, then the province or the state, then the city, then the street and number, then the family name, and very last goes their first name. Because the first name, which indicates individuality, is literally made up of all the relationships that all the other place names name, and is nothing in itself without all those other relationships. Again, it's such a huge contrast with the traditional Western understanding of the self as primarily individualistic. To be fair, it needs to be said that trends in much of current Western science and philosophy and theology agree with you. But the traditional Western individualistic notion continues to hold powerful sway over the imaginations of Western people through the structures and practices of capitalism and the middle class. This is exactly why today's Chinese government, as we saw in the video today, is wanting to bring back your Confucianist perspective as a bulwark against Western influence via economic globalization. Capitalism works to feed the fires of individualistic want as opposed to genuine need. And feeding individualistic want takes priority over any need to be in appropriate connection with the main relationships of life, which you called the 5 constant relationships. Parent-child, husband-wife, older sibling, younger sibling, elder friend, junior friend, and ruler-subject. You also said that the former in each of these 5 relationships is supposed to be benevolent: the parent, the husband, the older sibling, the elder friend, the ruler, while the latter is supposed to be deferential: the child, the wife, the younger sibling, the junior friend, the subject. If people can live in this way, you sincerely believe, within the network of these relationships, the result is personal fulfillment and social harmony. It's also important to note that you tried to make it clear that deference must be earned. It is not a given. Your own life is a blatant example of that. You who never succeeded as advisor to rulers in the way that you'd hoped, because rulers were scared of your courage in standing up to them. You stood up to them all the time. Wealth beyond measure could have been yours. Fame beyond measure could have been yours if you just said what the rulers wanted to hear. But you, a subject, wouldn't. Not at the expense of your integrity. You remind me of someone else I love. The Greek philosopher Socrates. Oh, how I would love to hear you 2 exemplary human beings, you 2 Chunsu, conversing together. What a scene that would be. I really want to emphasize this because over time, your vision of the 5 constant relationships and the benevolence-deference dynamic that's supposed to be at play has been distorted. Over time, people made it sound like you advocated for the absolute and rigid authority of parents, husbands, older siblings, elder friend, and rulers, whether they merited it or not. That a person had to show respect even if the relationship was abusive. One glaring example of this is the Chinese Communist Party, which has invoked this distorted interpretation to strengthen their grip upon the people. Well, you are not the first religious leader in history to be made into a tool of oppression, and I know that cannot feel good for you. I do need to acknowledge one thing, though: how a person's brilliance cannot defend them from taking on some or even many of the prejudices of the time. No one can be exempt, even exemplary you, Confucius. I am speaking of patriarchy, the rule of men over women. This was the cultural sea that you swam in, and reflecting it, you once said, "A woman without knowledge is a woman of virtue." You once said that it is the law of nature that woman should be held under the dominance of men. Ugh. Yet another conversation that would be fascinating to behold would be between you and Susan B. Anthony or Ruth Bader Ginsburg. There's just a lot of people who are excluded by your 5 constant relationships. The husband as the benevolent one and wife as the deferential one arrangement just excludes a lot of people. Well, while you are certainly one of the ancient masters of spirituality, this aspect of your vision is profoundly hurtful. And so, just as in your own day as the master editor of Chinese culture, you strove to separate good views and traditions and rituals from bad ones. So too today, we do the same. Patriarchy is not something to carry forward, and we Unitarian Universalists strive to not do so. But now I want to tell you a personal story. When I was a boy, I remember times taking the bus downtown. This was in Edmonton, Alberta, and I would be with my Baba, and our plan was to go to the museum or to the library or to the park. Our seat was the kind that would face the aisle and with legs tucked underneath neatly so we wouldn't trip anyone who'd be walking past. We people watched. We watched humanity surrounding us, humanity with a diversity of aims and ends, humanity on the go, humanity that didn't need transcending so much as fulfilling. Confucius. In times when all the bus seats happened to be occupied and an elderly person would come close, Baba would say to me under her breath, "Tony, please give your seat to your elders." And I would stand up and I would politely invite the person to take my seat, the elder to take my seat. Baba, also my elder, despite being one of the elders that she was talking about, well, she would stand up with me. I have never forgotten this. The Ren in her, the human-heartedness in her, was demonstrated through this ritual of politeness towards elders. And through this very same ritual, the Ren in the young boy that I was being developed and actualized. This is the last thing I want to be sure to thank you for, Confucius. Your vision around the role of rituals in human life. Social rituals, you said, are how we come to learn and to express the goodness that is in our hearts. Becoming fully human within the network of our constant relationships requires practice. You just can't become an exemplary person, a chunzu, by reading about it in a book or just talking about it. It is a way, a Tao, that ultimately transcends words. And I don't mean to be mystical here. Really, it reminds me of what it takes to learn how to figure skate, which is a thing I love to do. You can talk all day long about sit spins or axle jumps, but I don't care how fine your talk is. Pulling on your skates and getting on the ice and actually doing a sit spin or an axle jump is another thing entirely. You have to fall again and again before you learn how to get up and stay up. And that's only the very beginning. Hard practice is the only way forward. The Tao, or way, of being an exemplary human being, a chunzu, is just like this. A frequency of practicing the rituals of humanity to the point that they become completely effortless. For example, consider the ritual of shaking hands. Did you have this ritual in your day, Confucius? I see you. I smile. I walk towards you. I put up my hand to shake yours. And behold, you spontaneously turn towards me. You return my smile. You raise your hand towards mine. We shake. We've had to learn how to do that. And now it just happens effortlessly. But notice something in particular. In none of this are we treating each other like things. No commands, no stratagems, no force, special tricks or tools are involved. I am not pulling your hand up and down. You're not pulling mine up and down. Rather, in this minor ritual of shaking hands, something amazing is happening. Something I would even say is holy. We are coming together harmoniously as free human beings, and we are acknowledging each other's humanity. This is what the ritual makes possible. It allows us to meet each other not as objects to be pushed around, but as human beings to be respected. Confucius, your grand hope was that human society could become humane and effortless just like this. Rituals of humaneness practiced in the home, which prepare a person to practice rituals of harmony in the larger community and nation. That was your grand vision, which you called the Grand Union. Having said all this, in light of all of this, it will make perfect sense to you when I say that I am just not feeling like myself these days. I am just not feeling like myself these days. So many rituals of humaneness have been taken away because the year I write in Confucius is a plague year. It is a year full of COVID-19. These days, Confucius, are among the deadliest days in American history, and we are dying in record numbers. Handshakes are not safe these days. Neither are hugs. I miss those sweet rituals of connection, though. I especially miss my church's ritual called For All That Is Our Life, where people come to the front of the sanctuary to share from the heart, to express a hope, a prayer, an intention by writing it on a card or by placing a stone on the altar. It is a way to give voice to the sorrows and joys of our hearts. The line is always long, and for all who wish it, a big hug from me comes next. And then, together, we all sing, For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift, which we are called to use, to build the common good and make our own days glad. Confucius, I wish you could be a part of that. That sweetness, that humanity, how together, connected by this ritual, through this ritual, all the pettiness in our hearts is just drained away. And we become Junsu. Of all people, you would understand. But I fear I am wearing out my welcome with an overlong letter, so I will close. We are separated, you and I, Confucius, by a distance of 2,500 years. But I will say that perhaps through my Baba, I came into direct contact with your spirit somehow through my Baba when she taught me not just that my elders are to be respected, but also how to respect them. So I was a Confucian without even knowing it. And now I know it. And I am so grateful. I am yours sincerely, Anthony. And now let's sing our closing hymn, Blue Boat Home.
Standing on these mountains and plains, starry sea, looming over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all weekend pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great wind urging me on, read the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home.
Now bring your chalice close to extinguish it as I extinguish the chalice here. We say these words: we extinguish our flames, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry with us until we meet again. Remember coffee hour at 11:30 today, in just a couple moments, and I will see you at the sermon chat at 12:30 on Zoom. And now our benediction. The words of our initial hymn today, adapted: Lo, that word abideth ever, revelation is not sealed, answering now to our endeavor, truth and right are still revealed, that which came to ancient sages, Hindu, Buddhist, Christian, Jew, and Confucian, written in the soul's deep pages, shines today forever new. And yes, it does shine, the treasures of our world's great religious traditions, the wisdom of Confucius, it shines. Let it be a light lighting your way today and tomorrow, this week, next week, forever. As he says, exemplary persons make demands on themselves, while petty people make demands on others. Let this be a light for us today. So may it be. Amen. See you next week, West Shore. Love, courage, and cheer to all.